Hi everyone, this is Tina with Dirt Therapy, and today I am going to be doing a project where I have a lot of different types of perennials, and the perennials have self-seeded themselves in places that I don't want them to self-seed. So I am going to take those growing plants that have self-seeded themselves and put them in pots. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let them grow on a little bit and then relocate them to another spot. But you don't have to do it this way. You can just take the little babies and plant them where you want them, and then just make sure they get plenty of water and they'll be just fine. But in this case, I am going ahead and putting them in containers and let them grow up a little bit. And then if I want to give them away to friends and family, I have some plants to give away. Or I can plant them myself in a different garden area. In this spot here, you can see a whole bunch of things that have grown in our pea gravel or river rock. It's a small variety. However, there is a liner underneath it. So there is a commercial grade poly underneath the rock, and that prevents anything to come from the soil upward into the grass path, the gravel path here. However, these ones were self-seeded from the top. If you can see, the salvia is there with the fuchsia colored flowers. Those are what has self-seeded themselves in the gravel pathway. So I am going to go ahead and pull those up gently, and I'm going to repot them. It is going to be very easy to pull these up because they don't have much of a root system yet. Again, they are growing on top of the liner underneath the gravel, so there isn't much of a root system, but enough of a root system that they are thriving here. So I am going to show you what I am going to do to take care of pulling these seedlings up. So it's really simple. All I'm doing is taking and just removing the rock around this area as much as I can. Now, some of them have embedded themselves into some muddy areas, so I think I'm going to have to go get my little shovel for the bigger ones, but this one should be one that comes out pretty easily. Here we go, and there's a nice little root system on it that it'd be perfect for putting in a new pot. So now that I've dug up some of those straggler volunteer salvias, so this is what they look like, and they have their root system. I'm going to go ahead and plant these in containers. I have my containers over here, and then I also have some dirt, and I'm going to go ahead and plant them up. The one thing I need to be careful of is I think we have a wasp nest inside that drawer, so I'm not going to try. I don't know where I'm going to pot these up. I'm going to have to just be very, very careful. So I'm really packing the soil around each of the roots of each of these. because they are going to feel a little bit of transplant shock. They've been happy and growing where they were, and these are babies, so babies tend to need a little bit more TLC. Also, I wanted to say that it's better to pull them at this stage where they have a really long root system than pulling them at this stage, because they're really tiny, and they're going to have a harder time. Those little tiny ones are going to have a harder time than these bigger ones will. And some, because the root system doesn't have a lot on there, I don't know if this one will survive, but it does have a little bit of root, so we're just going to try it. When I pulled it, it doesn't feel like it got the whole root out. So we're just going to give it a shot. Pretty likely that it won't survive, but we're just gonna see if it had enough root to be able to latch on to the soil. And you can use smaller containers than what I'm using. These were all I had, so I went ahead, and that's why they're kind of down a little bit further, kind of like make the potting soil area a little bit shorter. But they will fill in nicely. Their roots will fill up this whole container over just a few weeks. The key really is to pack around those roots. So here are the salvias that I pulled of the gravel pathway and planted in here. And what I did is I added water. So I had my jug of water. I poured it inside the tray that doesn't have any holes, and I also put it in each of the containers from the top. So as you can see, some of them look a little bit wilted, or look a little bit wimpy, like this one looks wimpy, but don't worry, because as long as you stay on top of it and keep an eye on those seedlings, they'll be fine, because all of the plants that you see in here started out the same way. So these are a few weeks old. I pulled those as well from the gravel pathway, and they are doing really great. So don't worry, they will be fine. You just have to baby them a little bit. And so this one is a Caryopteris, a bluebeard. So I've got a couple bluebeards here. I've got some salvias. In fact, you can see there's the new growth here, and I could come in and shore these leaves off because they're not really looking the best, but look at the green growth. It's beautiful. We've got some penstemon in here. I've got another salvia, so you can see that is that same color that was the ones that I just pulled out. So, and then I do also have some nepeta. So here is the catmint nepeta. I have that as well. So it can be done. I have done this many times, and it gives you more plants, so you can move on them to another spot, or you can give them away or sell them, or whatever you choose to do. You've got some free plants, and that works in our favor, doesn't it? I mean, gardening can be really expensive, so when we can have those wins of free plants, we're gonna take them. So I just wanted to show you how they were looking after yesterday, because that's when I was working on these, and that they are still looking really good. Now I do have some shade cloth up underneath the umbrella, and it will get some afternoon sun after the sun moves a little bit. It is also really important to plant the seedlings right away. Don't let them sit out. And so that was the reason why I had to continue with my project. Even though I wanted to film it, I couldn't because my phone got too hot. But I had to get these seedlings in. But they're going to be just fine. I'll come out and water them again in the tray later on this afternoon. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Have a great garden day.